The clock struck midnight as Daniel boarded the last train of the night. He was exhausted from work, barely noticing the eerie silence inside. The train was nearly empty, just a few passengers scattered across the dimly lit compartments. Strangely, there was no conductor, no announcements, and no signs of the usual city hustle. As the train pulled away, Daniel realized something odd. The lights flickered, and for a moment he could swear the passengers around him disappeared. But when the lights stabilized, they were back, staring blankly ahead, as if in a trance. He checked his phone. No signal. The GPS couldn't detect his location. That was impossible. This was a subway train running through the city. The stations outside the window were unrecognizable, the names unreadable, as if written in a foreign language. The train wasn't slowing down at any stop. Daniel's pulse quickened. He stood up and walked toward the nearest passenger, a woman in a gray coat. "Excuse me, do you know when this train stops?" She turned her head slowly, her eyes vacant, and whispered, "It never stops." A chill ran down his spine. He backed away, searching for an emergency exit, but there was none. His mind raced. Was he dreaming? Had he dozed off and imagined everything? He pinched himself. It hurt. This was real. Then he noticed something even more disturbing. The same passengers were seated in different spots now, as if they had switched places in the blink of an eye. But their expressions hadn't changed. He sprinted to the next compartment. Empty. The next one, also empty. But as he turned around, the passengers from the first compartment were now right behind him, watching, silent, unmoving. Heart pounding, Daniel slammed his fist against the train doors. "Let me out!" he yelled. Suddenly, an old man's voice spoke behind him. "You shouldn't have boarded." Daniel spun around. An elderly man, dressed in an outdated suit, stood in the middle of the compartment. "What do you mean?" Daniel demanded. "This train only picks up those who have lost their way, those who don't belong anymore." Daniel shook his head. "That's ridiculous. I got on at 34th Street. I was going home." The old man sighed. "Look outside." Daniel turned toward the window. There was no city, no tunnels, no tracks, just endless darkness stretching forever. Panic took hold of him. "How do I get off this train?" The old man's expression was solemn. "No one ever does." The train's lights flickered again. This time, when they came back on, the seats were empty. The old man was gone. Daniel was alone. The train continued moving forward, into nothingness.